We've got Fabian Eichner and Marcel Bartel opening the show in a tag team match. We've got Jordan Devlin in a singles match. We've got the return and the NXT UK debut of Tegan Knox. And we've got the grizzled young veterans against the South Wales subculture in the main event for the NXT UK Tag Team Championships. This might be the perfect card. Jeff, ladies and gentlemen, raise your beverages. This is an NXT party.
Support, no DQ.
Welcome everybody to the NXT party for episode number 60 of NXT UK. I'm your host, the Rated R reviewer, Stephen Osborne, joined tonight by the West Coast professor, Jeff Meacham.
Good to be here, Stephen. I am honored as always to be part of the NXT party. And after my NXT UK review debut last week on a subpar show for the network, what a hell of a comeback for the UK brand this week. My goodness.
Yeah, I'm glad we could have you on this week. And I say we because we did this show in its entirety last night thinking that we were live on No DQ. Turns out we weren't. We tried so many times. We got all the way to the main event with a single show and realized we weren't live. It just wasn't happening. We did go live with Noah.
No idea where we were when we weren't live. It was a complete technical cluster.
Thank you to Aaron Riff for deleting all the attempted videos, however long they were.
Yes.
It might have been our connection, but our Skype connection was fine, so I don't know about that. But anyway, tonight we are down to just me and Jeff. We had Colin Andrew, the Cleaver, on with us. We had Jerry. Normally Jerry'd be sitting here, but I have a single co-host tonight, and I couldn't ask for a better one.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, it's one of those things where I haven't appeared a whole lot on any NWQ shows, and that's been a subconscious choice or anything else. Just haven't been around, and Aaron tapes at weird hours as far as having people in my house. But the house is completely empty right now except for my dog, and she's trying to sleep in the next room, but it's 2:45 in the morning, and she can't see where my loud ass. So I'm just banging them out while I have an empty house. I love it.
Well, I'm just glad that you are a fan of NXT UK, because a lot of the main roster guys save maybe TJS once in a while, and I know Big G watches NXT. I'm not sure if he watches NXT UK, but the thing is, I feel like everybody's missing out because they take NXT for granted. Like if they have the time, they can watch NXT and get some, wrestling product as opposed to too much sports entertainment. Yep. To be fun to watch, because you watch a show, it's like 60% stuff being said and so little of a match. You watch NXT and it's like somehow you can watch NXT and get 4 matches and an in-ring promo that means something in 1 hour.
Yep.
They did that this week with Johnny Gargano, had a long-ass in-ring promo, and they still had 4 matches and other shit.
It's one of those things where both the NXT brand in the United States and the UK brand, not to quote Brian Cage, but they get their shit in, in an hour.
They have to.
I know he's going to 2 hours this week on the USA and the WWE Network also, but it's still, they're also combining the 205 Live brand into the NXT brand, so there's going to be some brand integration there. It's going to be a lot better flowing, I think, for both brands. But this brand, the brand we cover on this show, on the Tea Party, I really think it still has a good formula. They get, you said 4 matches in, they have promos, and the formula works, and they should stick with it.
Now, I was giving a lot of credit to this week's NXT for having 4 matches and an in-ring promo. NXT UK this week had 4 matches, an in-ring promo, and a press conference.
Yes.
So let's start at the beginning. Let's start with the in-ring promo. Imperium comes out, and this is a great way to start the show because, I don't know, there's just something about that entrance.
Yeah, it's Imperium's music is very much a show starter. And I think that their music, as well as Gallus, I said this last time I was on the Tea Party, I love me some Gallus music. My goodness. Yeah. I can literally put that on a workout, and I'll get through a 30-minute EDP yoga like it was nothing. Just boom, right, bang it right out.
I don't know about that. It would get a little repetitive after a while. It'd be like it's like how the NWO's music was so classic, but if you put it on loop, it would start to drive you nuts.
See, I love Rock House. I love the NWO song. I can rock that 30-minute YouTube loop on the Rock House theme and not get bored one bit. But Imperium's theme, it's powerful. It lets you know shit's about to go down.
This is true. So Marcel Bartel gets on the mic, and he has basically saying that the NXT UK universe doesn't know why they need Imperium, but they need Imperium. And they are going to respect them. Something like, what are Jerry's notes? He actually... learn, accept, respect, in that order.
Yeah, and you know what? Right now, they don't have all the gold like Undisputed Era is trying to go for in the United States version of NXT, but they have that commanding presence, and the respect is not there. I don't think like it is for Gallus or for British Strong Style, but I think there is still a respect level for Imperium from the NXT UK universe. Certainly from the ODQ Galaxy. I love me some Imperium.
Now, General Jerry's prediction was that the South Wales subculture, that's Flash Morgan Webster and Mark Andrews, were going to win the tag title so that they could be transitional champions because they're baby faces and they can lose to Marcel Bartel and Fabian Eichner. And if that's where they're going, I'm all for that. Yes. However, there does need to be a mid-card title. And we have been saying this for months and months. What better title than the European Championship? Because if you want to continue with this charade that it is the WWE United Kingdom Championship, then okay, it can be the WWE European Championship, because that's what it was. And it can bring the lineage with it.
Yeah, and I find it quite interesting they re-released the European Championship to buy on the Shop Zone recently.
I saw that on my Facebook news feed.
So I was like,
Yep. So after Marcel Bartel, we get Alexander Wolf on the mic that is just basically warning everybody that it's their rules now, and if you don't abide by them, then you're going to fall. You'll feel pain.
Pretty much.
And then Walter gets on the mic, and he says they have destroyed British Strong Style, and there is nobody that can stand up to them. So get used to it. He is the champ, and they are in control. Because there's 4 of them. You've got Gallus, 3 people. You've got Dave Mastiff with the Hunt, 3 people. You have no factions. You have tag teams out the yang. You've got good tag teams, a few great tag teams, some teams like the Hunt, which, is included with Mastiff, the Animals, whatever you want to call them. But they've got a lot of good tag teams, but still, nobody's going to get together, 4 people, especially 4 people that could actually take down Imperium.
Now, we were theorizing last night during the attempted taping, I personally think people are still not, they're sleeping on Jordan Devlin. He's on the show, on this week's show, but I think pairing him with, it sounds weird in my head as I think it, but maybe him with Gallus as a 4-man unit to go just to take down the common enemy of Imperium, because Gallus is licking their wounds right now, but Joe Coffey is still up there in that main event spot, and once he gets himself better, he still owes Walter a receipt.
So maybe we get a number one contenders match for the tag team championships between Gallus and Marcel Bartel and Fabian Eichner. Somehow they screw them out of the chance, and so now you've got that. I don't know how Jordan Devlin fits in the mix, though.
Yeah.
How do you get him?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of somebody to go in that fourth spot to go against Imperium. Maybe Gallus is just badass enough to go on their own 3-on-4.
Or maybe they do bring the European Championship in, and in the finals of the tournament, you have Alexander Wolf and Jordan Devlin.
Oh, there you go.
And Jordan Devlin gets screwed out of the title.
Yeah, that would be common with Jordan Devlin's constant being screwed in his own mind, so, maybe.
So I don't know how you get them all together, but you got to find something. The closest thing they have now is the Hunt, and that's only because they've got Mastiff, who's huge.
Right, and and he's also looking at his wounds from Cardiff, so it's
true. So would you rather see Joe? Because Joe, well, I don't know. Joe won, but only because he's smart, not because,
Right. Yeah. Joe couldn't stand after that match when we saw NXT UK last week. He couldn't even stand after that match, so he's going to be hurt for certain. But I like Mastiff. I like the Hunt. I'd rather see Gallus, especially Joe Coffey, get that next shot against Walter. Like I said, Walter debuted and laid Joe Coffey out in the midst of the feud with Pete Dunne and Joe Coffey. So
yeah,
Joe
and that's
Coffey
never been answered for.
What's that?
It's never been answered for.
No, exactly. And especially now that Gallus is a unit and they've got three guys. Yeah, 3-on-4, but Joe Coffey's got some backup now to go against Walter.
My problem with adding anybody to Gallus is that they're really tight knit because they're all from Scotland.
Right.
So who from Scotland can you put with them? And I think a returning Sheamus would be great.
Somebody else was talking about last night. I don't know if they want to put McIntyre in that spot. I personally like the idea of Sheamus better.
Oh wait, Sheamus is Irish. Oh, my bad. So you're trying. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It was Drew McIntyre.
But I would personally like to see Drew McIntyre in that spot. But I don't know if WWE is going to go that far outside of their comfort zone of letting one of the guys they've really got behind travel across the pond and compete there full time.
But have they really gotten behind him?
He was Shane McMahon's henchman for the longest time here until he got hurt. So, I don't, unless they do away with Shane completely, which wouldn't surprise me either. What do they do with him once he comes back?
Well,
other than put him across the pond.
He's already disappeared from television. So
right.
Just bring him across and give him a couple of months in NXT UK to get some eyes on the brand.
Right, exactly. I would hope they would do that, and I think that the Scottish connection with him and the rest of Gallus would be good. I think, unfortunately, he would take a little bit of the sizzle away from Joe Coffey, though, which I don't want.
Maybe Joe Coffey can go for that mid-card European Championship.
Maybe. Again, I was sold on Joe Coffey beating Pete Dunne. It didn't happen. So, I would hope that McIntyre would get a better shake against Walter than Joe Coffey did against.
Well, Joe Coffey did get his opportunity at the NXT UK Championship, or I call it that, the WWE UK Championship.
Right.
He got his shot.
Yeah.
So what if they bring in McIntyre or somebody Scott? What about Noam Dar?
Noam Dar fits with the Scottish part of it, but he's kind of a soft entry there in the Gallus with the three big,
So yeah, Drew McIntyre, bring him in as a necessity to help take down Imperium, and while he's at it, since he's there, he gets mixed up into a WWE UK Championship match with Walter.
There you go.
Maybe he wins, maybe he doesn't. Who knows? But something.
I would be down for having Sheamus come across and compete as an Irishman. I'd be down for McIntyre. I'd be down for anybody that could help build the UK brand up even further than they already are.
I just feel like something's got to happen. Otherwise, why make this big of a deal about it?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they had Imperium completely right. Russia, they completely desecrated and decimated, excuse me, British strong style twice. So what happens now? We shall see.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we got a jobber match for the tag match against Imperium.
Yeah, Walter took out Tyler Bate without needing the help of any of the three of his
exactly
mates. So this leads into a tag team match by Fabian Eichner and Marcel Bartel against two guys that are so jobber. They took their first names, put them on the Tron, and reused and recycled the NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff logo, that dragon, put it behind their names, and that's how they came out. We have
That's fantastic. I love it.
Danny Jones and Harry Green. And this match was a squash match. Big time. They started squashing them before the bell rang.
Yes,
straight out of the gate. To quote Colin Andrew from last night's attempt. Straight out of the gate. I've got several notes for this match, all basically Fabian Eichner and Marcel Bartel pulling off some cool moves. What were your thoughts about this opening bout?
It's one of those things where, basically every match on this show, except for the main event, was a throwback to the WWF Superstars of Wrestling days, where you had the big stars come in against the local talent.
Yeah.
And they just blow over these guys and gals. So there were some cool spots. Don't get me wrong. There was some interesting moves that both Eichner and Bartel pulled off. But I think overall there was no suspension of disbelief. There was no doubt in my mind of how this match was going to go. So I kind of watched it with that was cool. Okay, cool. Okay, good, it's over.
So my first note was Marcel Bartel. We rarely see a lot of cool individual offense out of these guys once they pair up into a tag team, because it seems like the thing to do now is to create some awesome tag team moves, potential finisher, signature moves. And I'm all for it because I feel like there's not enough of that. I feel like if you're a legitimate tag team, you should have a bunch of devastating signature moves that are just only something two people can do. And
3D standpoint. There you go.
I see new moves out of single wrestlers all the time. Now you've got two people to work with. Man, you got to see something new. And just about every week we do see something new out of Marcel Bartel and Fabian Eichner. In this case, Bartel has got, I think it was Harry Green. This is off of Eichner throwing Danny Jones into the corner and daring Green to tag in. Bartel,
it's a great moment.
Bartel's got him in a wheelbarrow and springs him up, and then Eichner comes off the middle rope with a DDT. And it doesn't end there, because after he plants him with the DDT, Bartel lifts him up and just shrugs him off into the ropes.
Yes.
We see the end with a last ride by Fabian Eichner, with Marcel Bartel coming off the middle rope with a European uppercut. 1, 2, 3. Of course they were going to win. There's no chance in hell Danny Jones and Harry Green were going to pull off the victory here.
No.
None.
But you know what? Like you said, we saw the cool spots by Imperium, so we got our money's worth out of that match.
Yeah. Me and Jerry both would agree. Fabian Eichner and Marcel Bartel are our favorite tag team right now in NXT UK. So after this match, we get a recap of Cassius Ohno versus Sid Scala from last week. And this transitions into an interview with Sid Scala backstage, where he implies that Cassius Ohno won by nefarious means last week. I'm like, I don't really see it, but whatever. He announces that next week, Johnny Saint has given him the opportunity to redeem himself, and they're going to have the very first, let me get this right, British rounds match in NXT UK. And Jerry looked it up last night, and this is a real thing. And their rules are the same as the ones that Google found. And it's 6, 3-minute matches with 30 seconds in between. And the whole thing is won with either 2 pinfalls, 2 submissions, or a knockout. I believe those are the rules. So if in 6 3-minute matches you can't get 2 pinfalls, 2 submissions, or a knockout, I feel like you should be able to combine a pinfall with a submission.
Maybe you can do one of each. I don't know how that works.
I don't think you can. it doesn't seem like you can. Otherwise, it would just say 2 falls.
That's true.
2 falls or 1 knockout. And I feel like this match is going to end in a knockout somewhere in the 5th round.
Yeah, you got to believe Arnold's going to knock Scala out in the 5th round. It's going to go to round 5 for sure.
At least to 5. It might go to 6. I doubt it. That's going to be that's going to take half the show if it makes it all the way through.
Right.
So we come off of this with our second match of the night. And again, this is a guy I love to hate, as opposed to a guy like Tyler Bate or Mark Andrews, who I hate to love. We've got Jordan Devlin versus Ashton Smith. And I want to mention, as I did last night when we didn't have any connection, Jordan Devlin, during his entrance, comes out and he gets on the ropes and he does his pose. If you go back and watch the show, it's just, I think Colin Andrew pointed out, it's coming from a light that like shines across his head, but at just the right moment creates this like starburst light beam that comes out the sides of his head, and it's just super cool looking.
I went back and rewatched this tonight before we started taping. I didn't notice it the first time, but when I went back and rewatched it, I was like, oh shit, it did happen. That's pretty cool.
I just happened to see it, and I hit that backup button, that quick backup, and sure enough, I wasn't imagining things. It wasn't like one of the lights in my room coming off the TV or nothing. Like, they need to figure out what they did and replicate that, because that was pretty cool. So this was a pretty cool match. I never expect much out of Ashton Smith, but he proved why he is an awesome enhancement talent.
Yep. Again, you're not going to see him get a win, but he put up one hell of a fight. I tell you what, he went top tit for tat with Devlin the whole way through. It was really good.
For a guy with no victories, he looked like he gave Jordan Devlin a very credible win.
Yep.
That's the best way to put it, I feel.
I agree with that. And Devlin, you know, in a moment where Devlin is desperately needing to start racking up victory, he needed a win, and he needed to look good doing it, and he did both here.
I think half my notes are shit that Ashton Smith did. Like
Right.
My first one is where he counters. So we get Devlin's Greatest Hits Volume 1. That's the Uranagi into the standing moonsault. But Devlin takes a little extra second before the moonsault, and Ashton Smith gets his knees up.
Yep.
And let's see. Smith with a running high knee into the corner, and then he does this exploder that he changes into a Olympic slam mid-move, and he deadlifts it for a second. It was really cool. It looked kind of like Buddy Murphy's move a little bit, but
yeah, I'd say that. Yeah.
I'll let it slide because it was a little different. So after this,
Right.
Devlin goes off the top rope. Looks like he's going for a crossbody, but Ashton Smith catches him and turns it into a deadlift vertical suplex for a near fall, I believe.
Which was amazing. It looked like an amazing feat of strength, but this Smith is just so big. So much, you know, he's got some stature to him. It kind of made sense for it to happen that way.
So he goes on the offense, and he goes to run towards Devlin in the corner, who dodges him, and Smith goes like chest first in the turnbuckle. It looked really rough, and Jordan Devlin slingshots in with that cutter, and just the shot of it. Just if you're going to go back and watch the Halo spot with Jordan Devlin, watch the match, and this spot the camera angle and everything it looked great. After that, Smith counters a Devlin moonsault with a super kick. This was some shit that you would see, who was it? Adam Cole and Ricochet doing, and Adam Cole and Pete Dunne. Like, and Johnny Gargano, like, just holy crap. Like, when they do that lion salt and somehow get super kicked. This was even worse. This was a top rope moonsault.
Yeah, it's definitely an NXT US type holy crap moment in the middle of a enhancement match, which is ridiculous. But it worked.
I think he gets a near fall off of that, but he goes to follow up with the offense, comes off the ropes, and fucking Jordan Devlin catches him mid-run with a Spanish fly that was just wicked looking. It looks like he's
the most wicked Spanish fly I've seen on the
ground. He runs into it. It's like he's doing a Mark Andrews running not 450, Shooting Star, running Shooting Star. Or
Right.
Flash Morgan Webster, I think, does it too. A lot of people seem to be doing that lately. Anyway,
Yeah.
but he does that mid-run that makes him flip backwards so that the dude just has to, run. Anyway, it looks wicked. I can explain it all day, but it looks wicked.
Yeah.
Off the Spanish Fly, Jordan Devlin gets a near fall, so he gets frustrated, picks up Ashton Smith by the arm in this arm hold that he does just to kick him in the face. Just toes to his forehead over and over and over until it looks like he's basically out. And the ref looks like he wants to say something, but this is legal. And it takes him a couple of tugs, but he pulls him right into that Devlin side. And 1, 2, 3, Jordan Devlin, of course.
Again, for an enhancement match, it was one of the better matches I've seen on brand in a while.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I said Ashton Smith, even with no wins, made it look like a credible win for Jordan Devlin. Just in the match itself.
Ashton Smith went in like Ric Flair going to the territories and make the local champion look good. Or actually, Devlin would be the Ric Flair, but Ashton would be the local talent that would almost win the title, but not quite.
But look damn good in the process.
Exactly.
Look credible.
Made both guys like $1 million in this match, and that's how it should be. Period.
So after this, we get Radzi standing in the back, and he is alone. He is supposed to be there with Toni Storm, but apparently nobody's seen her all day. She hasn't showed up. And instead, Nina Samuels interrupts when he's taking a ridiculous amount of time to send it back to the commentator desk. Anyway, Nina Samuels shows up and rebukes him for not seeing her and taking the opportunity to interview her since he had nobody else to interview. And I want to talk about Toni Storm briefly. Feels like she's in a space where she can head off to another brand briefly. But we just had Rhea Ripley go to NXT, so we don't want to send her there. I feel like we could send Toni Storm, along with Candice LeRae, by the way, here in a few weeks from NXT, to 205 Live.
Well, if 205 Live remains its own entity, the thing is, from what I'm reading, 205 Live is going to become part of NXT.
Which would be cool too, but put her in those storylines and let her vie for the Cruiserweight Championship. Because I feel like that 205 Live is the perfect spot for WWE to broach intergender wrestling. Because you have that weight limit.
And if you've seen Candice, like I've seen Candice over the last 10, 15 years, doing her thing in the indies out here in California, she is an amazing wrestler against either sex, or any gender for that matter.
Yeah, that's why I included her, but certainly Toni Storm could do it too, and this would be the perfect opportunity.
And see, I haven't seen Toni wrestle guys, so I don't know. I've never seen that, so I'll take your word for it.
So, well, no, I just feel like she could.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't mind Toni Storm not being the focal point of a brand for a while. That would be nice too, because she kind of stole Rhea's thunder almost right away, and Rhea deserved better than that. But now Rhea's getting her chance in NXT.
Well, I feel like you can't just have one woman show up in 205 Live and then just put her in the mix. Like, I feel like if you're going to do it, you'd at least start with 2 or 3. And they're both baby faces. You could put them together. Just show up as a force and say, hey, look, we're under 205. Let us have an opportunity to try to get this title instead of just going for a woman's title.
I think it could work. I mean, we've seen women held the Cruiserweight Championship, the old title before, so why not?
Yeah. Shit, we've seen Chyna hold several of the men's titles.
Yeah,
so why not?
We saw Medusa as Cruiserweight Champion, we saw Jackie, we saw Daphne. Why not?
We've seen women as the 24/7 champion.
Yes. Pregnant women at that.
Oh my God. Let's not get into that. So, Nina Samuels, this is same old shtick Nina Samuels. I don't like it. I feel like she's fourth walling it. Because she's an actress, but they don't specify stage, screen, film, podcast. Like, we don't know what kind of actress she is, but she's a wrestler. Well, breaking the fourth wall here, wrestlers are actors. And this feels like, to me, like a really weak gimmick.
Yeah, I think that as good as I've seen Nina Samuels be as a wrestler, this gimmick is not working out for her at all.
At the very least, get her in the next Marine movie with The Miz.
Yeah, something.
Something. Put her in a commercial. Jesus, they have so many partners in advertising. Put her in a friggin' commercial. Give her something.
It's a very weak presentation overall, and I don't know how whoever is running the UK brand, I think it's still Hunter, expects us to take her seriously as a contender for the championship when she's got such a terrible gimmick.
Well, it's just a little wink wink on the nose. Just without any specifics, it's just seriously like, come on. I don't want to watch this shit. It's like all the times where they break in the middle of a main roster show for some shit that's like charity or whatever. And I know it's important and shit, but do it at the beginning or at the end. Don't do it in the middle. Like, don't remind me every 25 minutes that this is all staged. We're watching a play.
Right.
Don't do that. In this case, it feels like her character does that. So,
that makes sense.
Moving on from her, we've got a video promo for Sid Scala versus Ono for next week. This is basically explaining the British Rounds match, and they tell us what we said earlier. So skip.
I like seeing Regal and Robbie and Johnny and everybody be included. It was really cool inclusion and presentation of this video.
Guys that have actually been in British Rounds matches.
Exactly.
So after this, we get our third match of the night. We've got my least favorite of any women's names that I've seen in wrestling, period, ever. Shax.
Yeah, that's bad.
Versus Tegan Knox, who is returning to NXT Wrestling, but debuting in NXT UK.
Right.
I guess, was she ever in NXT, or was it just the women's tournament?
I think she may have had a match on NXT, but don't quote me. I think she got hurt in the tournament, so maybe not.
So this was, by definition, squash. I mean, almost instantaneous. Right. Tegan Knox goes for a handshake, and Shax, who is now playing a villain, smacks her instead with a weak smack. But whatever. Yeah. And then Tegan answers that instead with a roundhouse kick to the side of the face. Takes her down instantly. This was like a roundhouse version of Black Mask. Or Black Mask.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And then she picks her up, does a fall-away slam towards the other corner, and while she's getting up, she runs in for that shiniest of wizards. 1, 2, 3. No bumps by the returner.
Yeah, no real bumps or anything. I noticed she was really protecting the knees.
Yeah, you think she's coming out with 2 Stone Cold style knee braces.
Yeah. Yep.
And I know he gave up because of his neck, but I'm sure his knees appreciated it too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But
he had knee troubles for like almost 8 years after surgery in WCW, so.
Let's see. After this, we've got the aforementioned Noam Dar press conference.
Well, no, actually, because Kaylee Ray came out. And
I forget to mention Kaylee Ray. That was the after match. Go ahead.
Which is what her problem was in the first place. It tied in beautifully. Good job, Tim. There we go. That actually worked really well because Kaylee's pissed off that we were talking more about Tegan's debut than Kaylee Ray winning the championship.
Well, for the prior 2 weeks since she's won it, when it comes to the women's division on NXT UK, that's all we wanted to talk about because we were so blessed that she took it off of Toni Storm and got rid of the catchphrases for the belt that are heretofore unmentioned on this show.
Yes, never again to be spoken.
No, let's just say it's sort of like reflective.
Yes.
So, yeah, Kaylee Ray comes out and she basically threatens Tegan Knox that if she takes her spotlight from her again, there's going to be hell to pay. And Tegan says, anytime, anywhere. She invites her in the ring. And I'm like, seriously, the way you look, she just get in the ring and kick one of your knees out from under you. Doesn't matter which. They're both fucked.
Yeah, exactly. There's just no way that the champion's going to come in there and not take you out.
Or maybe it's only one knee that's fucked, and she wears both braces so that the opponent doesn't know which knee it is.
Well, there you go. Makes sense to me.
That's only going to last until somebody figures out which knee it actually is.
Yeah, exactly.
So, back to the Noam Dar press conference. He invites all of the media that he can just to announce, and he does it so, Noam Dar-like. You know, he wants to pretend like he's had this epiphany about his life. He says some personal things have gone on, but he just wanted to call everybody there to update him on his future and let them know that he is just the best.
It was so well done. I thought it was great.
And his first question was, you seriously called a press conference to tell us you're the best? And he says, yes. Next question. The next question was Radzi bringing up what everybody thought was the match stealer from NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff. And he says it was the tag team championship match, the triple threat tag match. And I agree. But obviously Noam Dar didn't. His response was just to point at the door and say, get out. He said, leave your donut, leave your coffee, just get out. And he goes to take another question, and we've got Trent Seven in the back on his phone during Noam Dar's press conference. What a dick move.
Straight up douche move. And not only was it a dick move, like you said, but was his theme song, his ringtone, his own theme
Yes.
song?
To me, that's the douche move, is that he's got his entrance music as his ringtone on his phone. Because he gets a phone call, and he says, excuse me, Noam, because he interrupts the press conference, of course. You know, trade dick move. And he gets on his phone, and he says it's Drake Maverick. And he says into the phone, he's like, yeah, I know you didn't want him, but we don't want him either. Take him back. And this pisses off Noam Dar. He cancels the press conference. He walks out. But I get it. Okay, let's start a feud between the two. And I like this a lot better than some of the shit that we get, especially on the main roster. But I hate when they confuse a babyface with some shit. Like, somebody should have looked at this and been like, man, Trent Seven's supposed to be a good guy. Why is he being such an asshole?
Yeah, that was not okay, the way they presented Trent Seven at all.
Like, we know Noam Dar is being, like, high on himself. Like, he thinks he's the best. Narcissist, right. Maybe, but that's his press conference, man. He called that. You weren't invited. What the fuck? Yeah. So anyway, this is probably going to set up a match between them. Cool. Before our main event, we've got an update. And I like this. This was clever because normally they would just show a video package here to remind you that both, one, Mastiff and Joe Coffey do exist still, and two, remind you of the match that they had at Cardiff, which was an awesome last man standing match. Yes. And this was clever because it was an update basically to tell us that they are not medically cleared to compete after that match, which says after 2 weeks, their body still can't handle a wrestling ring. But
which shows you how intense that match was.
We know this is taped, so they might wrestle later on in that same night, and we just get it 2 weeks later. So who knows?
Right, exactly.
But I thought this was clever. It kept me watching. Normally I would fast forward through some recaps of a show I've already watched.
Right, exactly.
Support, no DQ.
So we are on to the main event. And if you thought it couldn't get better than Jordan Devlin versus Ashton Smith, if you thought it couldn't get more surprisingly, this was a pretty fucking awesome match, and it had a legitimate finish. We thought Imperium was going to come out and fuck up this match. This was like a 20-minute match. Might have been. It was long. Worth it, but long. And we thought Imperium was going to come out and ruin a quality match. And nope. We had a decisive finish. Before I run through my more than a half a page worth of notes, like, oh my god. And you know I only take notes when something either impresses me or I see it for the first time. Jeff, what were your thoughts on the main event?
I thought it couldn't have gone any better if they'd done it another 100 times. Honest to God, these two teams, Gibson and James really had something to prove. They really, they felt they were wrong in the triple threat match, and they wanted their rematch just 2-on-2. And they came out there and gave a hell of a show, as did Webster and Andrews. These four guys are really what, not only British wrestling as far as WWE goes is all about, but it's what the tag team division should be on any brand. These two guys, two teams, four guys, really showed that they wanted to be the top tag team on their brand. I thought the spots were great. I thought the storytelling was really good. The finish was spectacular, and I cannot wait to see what happens next for both teams.
Yeah, you talk about the story, and if you've been watching this show for too long, you know that's one of my favorite parts. If you can tell a story in the ring with no words. And in this case, it was a story of Mark Andrews' shoulder, his left shoulder, setting him up for that Shankly Gates. And you have the start, that initial big bump payoff that starts the work on the shoulder, knowing that it's building for one of Zach Gibson's finishing moves. And now you're worried, and you see him work on it throughout the match. And then you get the payoff. He gets that move in. And in this case, in an awesome way. And I've got the notes to prove it. I'll get to that. But, wow. What a match. Any last thoughts before I start running through all the shit that scares everybody off?
And you know what? Hey, I love listening to your note review because you take those detailed notes, especially for this brand. When we said at the top of the show, people don't give this brand near enough credit. I think this is the best brand WWE's got going right now. Personally, I feel that in my heart. I believe that. And when SmackDown moving to Fox and NXT moving to USA, maybe that'll change. But for right now, the UK brand, their 1 hour show, and their takeovers keep me coming back for more. And this match was no exception to that rule. This could be a main event of a WWE pay-per-view, a regular pay-per-view in any country in the world. And these guys just really showed me that my investment of my time in the UK brand is not lost.
Yeah, I feel like if this was on a takeover or if this was on a WWE pay-per-view, it would steal the show.
It really would. And you know what? The fact that it was so long on a TV outing was impressive to me as well.
Like 20 minutes straight. It might have been more like 18, but still.
It's crazy.
So my first note here is Flash Morgan Webster. He runs a forearm into Drake in the corner and then snapmares him out. And then Mark had tagged in and does this basement drop kick off the ropes.
Yeah.
A tag team move I hadn't seen before. So there you go. We had them do that follow up, throwing him off the ropes and doing the double hip toss. And then following that we had one do a standing moonsault and the other one do a standing 2-7 senton. Near fall.
Right.
Let's see, Grizzly Young Veterans with the blind tag. I think it was Gibson clotheslines Mark. And then they do this Hardy style leapfrog where Drake drop kicks Flash Morgan Webster out of the corner while he's waiting on a tag. And that's a mini story that comes back into play. Because they get a move in, I think on Manders. Yeah, they do that super kick neck breaker thing where Gibson picks him up for like a deadlift suplex or something, and we get like an enziguri, and then he turns it over into a neck breaker. But before he drops it, we get a super kick from Drake, and he drops a neck breaker. That comes into play later, but in just a moment. They go for a pinfall, but it's broken up by Flash Morgan Webster, who gets in, and he's pissed off at Drake for kicking him off the fucking apron.
Yeah.
I mean, just all these little mini storylines.
How often do we see that anymore?
And that storyline will get into a new General's Rule, and he's not here, but I'm going to reveal General Rule number 4 in a moment. Let's see, the Grizzly Young Veterans with Drake. They do a leap over the top rope assisted shoulder breaker onto Flash Morgan Webster. Now, this is where you would think maybe he would be susceptible to the Shankly Gates, but no. Or no, wait, it wasn't. It was Mandrews. Yeah, that's where it started.
Right.
And yeah, it was pretty brutal looking. So that was the start of the storyline of them working over the shoulder. Okay, my bad. So Grizzly Young Veterans, they start working on the shoulder, and they do and he hits a Stun Dog Millionaire out of nowhere. And we get the hot tag to Flash Morgan Webster, who comes in like a bat out of hell, does a suicida onto Gibson, then gets back in, does a sit-out pedigree onto Drake for a near fall. And that's the best I can call it, is a sit, maybe a face plant, but a sit-out pedigree.
Right.
So Mark Andrews gets the blind tag, and Flash Morgan does that running high knee and assists Mark with that 450, that standing 450 splash, which was nuts. Grizzly Young Veterans end up getting the upper hand, and they do a Doomsday Device, straight up Doomsday Device, like awkward landing and everything, for a near fall. Mark Andrews breaks that up. Let's see, we had Mark Andrews hits an inverted Rana onto Drake from the middle rope, like he's seated on the top rope.
Yeah, it was a reverse Rana on his head. It was like, oh.
Holy fucking crap. Like, I'm surprised his neck stopped.
Nigel and the other guy said.
But Gibson pulls Flash Morgan off the apron onto his face, and that turns us around. Drake does like this shoulder, it's almost like a dragon screw leg whip, but with the arm, and just drives his shoulder into the mat, again working over the shoulder. Gibson throws Mark shoulder first into the turnbuckle, and then does a deadlift vertical suplex attempt. Now, Mark attempts to reverse this into a stun dog, so this reverts back to general rule number 1. Never try to vertical suplex Mark Andrews. Well, somehow, and you'd have to watch it to understand, Gibson turns the Stun Dog Millionaire attempt into a Shankly fucking Gates.
Yeah, that was like, what the hell?
Yeah, that's crazy. So, he's got him in it forever. Long enough for Flash Morgan Webster to finally get up, climb the ropes, and does a swanton bomb onto Gibson while he's bent over with the Shankly Gates on to break it up. Fucking crazy.
It was.
So somehow they get Flash Morgan Webster back in the ring and down, and they go to do a Ticket to Mayhem, but Flash Morgan Webster reverses it because before Gibson can run in for the code breaker, essentially, Mandrews grabs his foot. Let's see, they do somehow do these dueling Mahi straw cradles for a near fall on Gibson. Just it got one. Gibson went for one, and then it got reversed, and Flash Morgan goes for it anyway. They go to do that spot again, and this will be General's rule number 4. They've got Drake, where Drake does the enziguri on the suplex, like the deadlift vertical attempt, and then into the neck breaker. Well, instead of super kicking, I think it was Flash Morgan Webster, he pushes Gibson into the super kick. So Gibson gets taken out, and then we see Flash Morgan Webster hit what I can only call the tilt-a-whirl reverse DDT. Like he runs in, gets into a tilt-a-whirl, but then catches Gibson at the top around the neck and hits a reverse DDT. And then Mark Andrews with a fall to pieces shooting star press. 1, 2, 3. They win. General rule number 4. What is it? If at first it did succeed, do not try it again.
Yeah, thank you. There was no reason that Gibson and Drake needed to go for that again, and it bit him in the ass.
Never go to the well more than once if it succeeds the first time.
Exactly.
Shit, you learn that on video games. They'll learn to reverse that shit.
That's right. If Mario taught us anything, it was that, damn it.
So that brings us to the end of the main event, and here on the NXT party, we like to rate the main event using good old-fashioned NXT. So, Jeff Meacham, again, this is crazy. My guest host tonight is the professor. Out of 5 spots of NXT, how do you rate the main event?
I rated the 5 spots for sure. Just like incredible storytelling Incredible back and forth between the two. Great. The story of Mark Andrews' shoulder is classic tag team wrestling. The Andersons, pick a body part, work it to friggin' death. And they did. They worked Mark's shoulder all throughout this match, and the babyfaces still prevailed. Just great spots, typical of 2019 spot wrestling, but it came off really well, and the finish was really good. And like I said when we started the review of this match, I cannot wait to see where Boys from Wales go and the Grizzled Young Veterans go next. I'm definitely 5 spots of T out of 5.
I gotta tell you, I love this match. Like, this was a better match than the triple threat at Cardiff, and I think Cardiff was probably the best pay-per-view I've seen in a long time. And this might include the 2 that I saw in Toronto live. That was NXT and SummerSlam. Like,
right.
This was a great match, but something keeps me from calling it perfect. I don't know if I can say 5 spots of NXT, but I'm going to give it 4 3/4, and I'm going to give it an extra quarter spot of T coming off of a great show. So in the end, I'm going to agree, 5 spots of T. Awesome fucking match. And I thought...
Awesome fucking show.
Yeah, no kidding. Awesome show. So that brings us to the end of this episode of the NXT Party. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining me, Mr. Meacham. I guess the newest member of the NX team. That's nuts. But if you'd like to...
Well, like I said, my appearance is going to be few and far between starting next week because I only have this space and this voice volume because the house is empty. So.
Oh yeah, but we'll always have the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We'll always have the last 2 weeks.
I love being a part of this, and once we get our new space set up in our new house, if we get a new house, which is supposed to happen in the next year, I'll have 4 walls. I'll have my own recording space. I'll be able to do these more often at all hours in the morning.
Well, if you
I
count...
have enjoyed the shit out of this. I thank you for letting me on. Don't forget to go to nodq.com/merch. Buy the hats. If you're out in Pasadena today, which is Saturday, the 14th, you'll see me at the Michael Myers house, for a screening of Halloween. I'm looking forward to that. I've been looking forward to it for a month.
Yeah, they're doing that in the backyard, right? Big screen?
What's that?
They're doing that in the backyard?
Yeah, they're going to have a screen out in the backyard of the old Myers house.
Fuck yeah.
So I'm going to get out there when they open up at noon and just take the whole tour that Aaron and Caitlin showed me that they took when she was out here visiting. It's going to be a hell of a day for sure. I'm going to enjoy the shit out of it. And I've enjoyed the shit out of being on with you guys last week and you this week, Stefan. So thank you so much.
Yeah, if you consider our attempt to do this show with Jerry and Colin last night, I'd say this is your 3rd episode of the NXT Party. To me, that makes you a frequent guest. Definitely a member of the NXT team. So thank you for joining us. If you would like to be a future member of the NXT team, join us on the big screen. Come have a spot of NXT with me and Jerry. On a normal night, Jerry would be here. Shout out to him. You can find me on Twitter. Go to nodq.com/Stefan. That's STEFAN. Or if you just want to look me up on Twitter, it's at Stefan R. Osborne, OSBORNE. As always, the R stands for restricted. You can also find Jerry on Twitter at NoDQGeneral. And find us both on Facebook in Jerry's group Armbar, where I am an administrator. Top qualifications. I do very little. But I like shit every now and then. It's actually a great group because he makes sure that people actually stay active. Like, he doesn't care about numbers. So there's a lot of memes and shit, and it's fun. That's how you get us on Facebook. Don't add us. We won't add you.
I won't either.
You can find me on Instagram now. I have no content, but osborne.stefan on Instagram. And you can help me get to triple digits with no content but a profile pic. And I don't know. It gets less and less funny every time I mention that, but it's still pretty funny.
I find it funny now. I'm only 3 shows in, so there you go.
Still pretty funny. I follow a few people, like the NoDQ guys and whatnot, but other than that, I don't really follow anybody because I don't get on Instagram because I have no content. Anyway, follow me there. If you like our video, click the like button that's underneath me. And if you like all of our videos, click the subscribe button. It's over there underneath Jeff's other arm. There it is. underneath that arm. And if you are watching us on No DQ, click that subscribe button, because we do go live every week with our review of NXT. That's What's NXT. And that bell will let you know on a Thursday morning what time we go live. Maybe you can have some questions for us. We tried doing this show live last night, and that was the problem. But we learned our lesson, and now we're just going to record it and edit it and all that bullshit. And you can find these shows, the NXT party, first and in HD over on Aftermatch Wrestling. That's me and Jerry's channel. It's all one word, AFTERMATCH, Aftermatch Wrestling. And normally he does that with me. Oh, I forgot. Armbar, all caps, ARMBAR, exclamation point. That's the Facebook group. Forgetting all this stuff because Jerry's not here to remind me. So, other than that, okay. Are there other plugs? I don't think there are other plugs.
It's one of those clusterfuck 24-hour type situations.
Yeah, help us get to 1,000 subscribers on Aftermatch Wrestling. There's a giveaway with a Clue board game, old edition, or a retro edition, I guess. It's new, but it's the old style, the one I had as a kid. They make new versions of board games like every 5 or 10 years, so now it's all cartoony. But anyway, yeah, there's a giveaway for that.
Board games around here as often as possible, but it's just my son's more into the video game. Although I got him a Fortnite Monopoly, and he was just all over the moon on that one, man. He was all over that shit.
Yeah, if you help Aftermatch get to 1,000 subscribers, then we'll put you in the lottery for it, and I'm just gonna send it to you. Like, I'll pay shipping and everything, whatever. I've already got it, so I just have to pay a couple bucks to send it to you.
Shit.
So help us get to 1,000 there, and we want 1,000, not 100, because now 1,000 is what gets you live. So we can do the NXT party live on our channel. So one day, folks. I think now that is all of the plugs. So for the West Coast Professor Jeff Meacham, I am the Wizard of No DQ, Stephen Osborne. Thank you for having a spot of NXT with us, and we will see you NXT time.